I walked into my parents' dining room and froze. My kids sat in the corner on folding chairs while my sister's children devoured roasted chicken at the main table. Mom was piling more food onto their plates. My daughter Emma stared at her empty dish. My sister Brenda smirked and said, "Get used to it. You were born to live off what's left." Dad nodded. "They need to learn their place." I grabbed my kids' hands and walked out. My phone rang minutes later. They were screaming. The car felt suffocating as I drove away from that house. Emma, my 8-year-old daughter, sat in the back seat, with tears streaming down her cheeks. Her little brother, Tyler, only 6, didn't fully understand what had happened. But he knew something was terribly wrong. He clutched his stuffed dinosaur and stayed silent, which broke my heart more than any crying could have. "Daddy, why does Grandma hate us?" Emma's voice cracked as she asked the question I'd been dreading for years. I gripped the steering wheel tighter, my knuckles turning white. How do you explain to a child that some people's love is conditional? That your own parents can look at your children and find them lacking? "Sweetheart, Grandma doesn't hate you. She's just confused about what's important." Even as I said it, I knew it was a lie. A kind lie meant to protect her, but a lie nonetheless. My phone buzzed in the cup holder. Julie, my wife, calling to check how Sunday dinner went. I let it ring. I couldn't talk to her while driving, not when my emotions were this raw. She'd hear it in my voice immediately, and I needed to get the kids home first. Tyler finally spoke up. "Can we get McDonald's?" The simple request from my son almost made me laugh. Here we were, fleeing from a nightmare, and he just wanted chicken nuggets. Kids have a way of cutting through the chaos and finding what matters in the moment. "Yeah, buddy. We can do that." I pulled into the drive-thru and ordered their favorites. As they ate in the back seat, some of the tension left their small bodies. Food as comfort. Food as normalcy. Food as the thing my parents had just weaponized against them. This wasn't the first time. That's what made it so much worse. This pattern had been building for years, but today was the first time they'd been so blatant about it. So cruel. So deliberate. When I married Julie 7 years ago, my parents made their disappointment clear. She was a school teacher from a working-class family. Her dad drove a delivery truck. Her mom worked at a grocery store. Good people. Honest people, but not the kind of people my parents wanted in their family tree. My father, Douglas, retired from a banking executive position 5 years ago. He spent his entire career managing other people's money and judging their worth by their portfolios. My mother, Patricia, came from what she called old money, though I suspect that money wasn't as old or as substantial as she liked to pretend. Together, they built a life centered on appearances and status. My older sister Brenda, 3 years my senior at 35, married Craig 4 years ago. Craig came from wealth, real wealth. His family owned commercial properties across 3 states. He barely worked because he didn't need to. My parents threw them an engagement party that cost more than my entire wedding. I worked as an automotive engineer at a major manufacturer. I made good money, around $90,000 a year. We owned a nice 3-bedroom house in a solid neighborhood. We saved for retirement. We took modest vacations. By any reasonable standard, we were doing well, but to my parents, we would never be enough. The evidence had been accumulating for years. Brenda's kids, Madison, Chloe, and Brandon, attended an exclusive private school that cost $30,000 per child per year. Emma and Tyler went to an excellent public school in our district, but in my parents' eyes, public school meant lesser than. Christmas at their house told the whole story. Brenda's kids opened mountains of expensive gifts, designer clothes, the latest electronics, luxury toys. Emma and Tyler received books and secondhand items my mother found at estate sales. One year, Tyler got a toy fire truck that was clearly from the 1980s, scratched and missing parts. The family photos displayed throughout my parents' house painted an even clearer picture. The mantel held at least 20 framed pictures of Brenda's family. Professional portraits, vacation shots, school photos, Rocco's family? Maybe 2 pictures, both several years old, tucked on a side table in a back room. Every holiday, every birthday, every family gathering reinforced the hierarchy. Brenda's children were the golden grandchildren. Mine were the afterthoughts. Julie had been patient. She'd smiled through the slights, the backhanded compliments, the forgotten occasions. When my parents missed Emma's piano recital but flew across the state to attend Chloe's dance performance, Julie just held our daughter while she cried and said nothing. But today crossed a line. Today, they'd made my children sit in the corner like servants waiting for scraps. Today, they'd spoken the hierarchy out loud. Today, Brenda had looked my daughter in the eye and told her she was born to live off leftovers. I pulled into our driveway, our modest, wonderful, loving home. Julie rushed out the front door, having clearly been watching for us. She took one look at my face and knew. "Kids, go inside and wash up. It'll be right there," I said. Emma and Tyler ran inside, relieved to be home. Julie walked over to my car window. "What happened?" I told her everything. Every word. Every look. Every moment of that nightmare dinner. As I spoke, I watched her face transform from concern to disbelief to pure rage. "They what?" Her voice was dangerously quiet. "They made our babies sit in the corner." "Julie, there's more! It's been building for so long, and I've just been accepting it." Making excuses. I kept thinking if I just kept showing up, if I just kept trying, they'd eventually see Emma and Tyler for the amazing kids they are. "Oh, honey." She reached through the window and touched my face. "You can't make people have hearts they don't possess." My phone rang again. My father's number. I showed Julie the screen. "Don't answer it," she said. But I did. I needed to hear what he'd say. What possible explanation he could offer. "Rocco." His voice was sharp with anger. "We need to talk about your behavior today." "My behavior?" I almost laughed. "You embarrassed your mother and me by storming out like that. After everything we've done for you. Everything you've done for me," I repeated slowly. "Dad, what exactly have you done for me? We raised you. We gave you opportunities. We welcomed your wife into this family despite our reservations." Despite their reservations, there it was. The truth they'd been dancing around for 7 years. "Where was this conversation going?" I asked. "Because from where I'm sitting, you called to yell at me for having the audacity to remove my children from a situation where they were being openly humiliated. Your sister is going through a hard time, and you made it worse." This stopped me. "What hard time?" Silence on the other end. "Dad, what hard time is Brenda going through? That's family business. I'm family. This doesn't concern you." And then he hung up. Just disconnected the call without another word. I sat there staring at my phone, Julie watching me with worried eyes. "Something's going on with Brenda," I said. "Something they're not telling me." "Do you care?" Julie asked pointedly. Did I? Should I? This woman who just told my daughter she was born for scraps. This sister who'd spent years treating my family like we were beneath her. "I don't know," I admitted. "But I know one thing. We're done going over there. We're done with Sunday dinners, with holidays, with pretending this is normal." Julie nodded. "I should have pushed for this years ago. I kept hoping they'd change." "Me too." That night, after we put the kids to bed, Emma asked if we had to go back to Grandma's house. The hope in her voice when I said no nearly destroyed me. "Never," she asked. "Not unless they can treat you the way you deserve to be treated." "So never," she said quietly, and rolled over to sleep. My daughter, my beautiful, brilliant 8-year-old daughter, had already given up on her grandparents' capacity for change. She'd figured out what I'd spent years denying. Some people won't love you the way you need them to, no matter how much you deserve it. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Emma's face as she stared at that empty plate. I saw Tyler's confusion. I heard Brenda's cruel words echoing in my head. Julie and I lay in bed, both wide awake at 2 in the morning. "We should cut them off completely," Julie whispered in the darkness. "No calls, no visits, no contact." "You're right. But," she heard the hesitation in my voice, "but I feel guilty depriving Emma and Tyler of grandparents. Kids should have grandparents who love them." "They do," Julie said firmly. "They have my parents, and my parents actually show up for them, actually love them, actually treat them like they matter." She was right. Julie's parents, Carol and Frank, were everything grandparents should be. They attended every school event. They called every week just to talk to the kids. They sent thoughtful birthday gifts that showed they actually paid attention to Emma's and Tyler's interests. They made our children feel cherished. Why was I holding on to people who made my kids feel worthless? Monday morning arrived with the sharp brightness of a headache. I dropped the kids at school, watching them walk through the gates. Emma held Tyler's hand protectively, the way she'd been doing since yesterday. My daughter had taken on the role of shield, protecting her little brother from a hurt he didn't fully understand yet. At work, I couldn't focus. I sat at my desk, supposedly reviewing engineering specifications for a new transmission system. But the numbers blurred together. My phone sat face up on my desk, and I found myself staring at it, half expecting another angry call from my father. Instead, at 10:30, an unexpected name appeared on the screen. Nathan. Nathan was my cousin, my father's brother's son. He lived in Seattle, about as far from our Midwest town as you could get while staying in the continental United States. We'd been close as kids but drifted apart as adults. Different coasts, different lives. We exchanged messages on birthdays and holidays, but that was about it. Nathan, I answered, surprised. Rocco, hey, I heard what happened yesterday. I sat up straighter. How did you hear about that? Mom called me last night. Aunt Patricia had called her, spinning some story about you being disrespectful and causing a scene. But Mom didn't buy it. She called Aunt Linda instead. Aunt Linda, my father's sister, the family truth teller. Rocco, there's something you need to know, Nathan continued. Something the family has been keeping from you. My stomach dropped. What? Brenda and Craig are broke. Completely broke. I almost laughed. That's impossible. Craig's family has money. Lots of it. Had money, Nathan corrected. Craig lost it. All of it. Bad investments. From what Mom heard, real estate deals that went south, some tech startup that folded, a few other ventures that tanked. The details are murky, but the result is clear. They're drowning in debt. How broke are we talking? The private school hasn't been paid in 3 months. They're about to lose the house. Brenda's been borrowing money from your parents for over a year now. The room seemed to tilt. How much money? Mom says over $60,000. 60,000. I felt the number like a physical blow. How does your mom know this? Because Aunt Patricia asked her for money too. Asked her to lend Brenda $15,000. Mom said no, and suddenly she stopped getting invited to family gatherings. That was 8 months ago. She's been out of the loop ever since. Pieces started clicking into place. The way my parents had been even more distant than usual this past year. The tension I'd sensed but couldn't identify. The increasing favoritism toward Brenda's kids. They weren't just playing favorites. They were propping up a failing empire, trying to maintain the illusion that their golden daughter's life was still golden. Nathan, are you sure about this? Mom is sure, and Mom doesn't spread gossip. She has proof. Texts from Patricia asking for money, explaining the situation. She saved everything. Why are you telling me this? Nathan's voice grew serious. Because they're going to come to you next. They always do. You're the responsible one, Rocco. The one who actually built something stable. They're going to need you to bail them out. I thought about yesterday's dinner, the way they'd treated my kids. The phone call afterward. After what they did to Emma and Tyler, they think it'll give them money. They'll try to manipulate you. They'll use the kids, Brenda's kids. I mean, they'll make it about innocent children losing their home. They'll make you feel guilty for having what Brenda lost. Be ready for it. I won't give them a cent. Good. Because Mom says they've been bleeding your parents dry. Your dad took money out of his retirement accounts. Your mom liquidated investments. They're in financial trouble themselves now, trying to keep Brenda afloat. After we hung up, I sat at my desk, trying to process everything. My parents had spent over $60,000 on Brenda. Money they didn't really have. Money they'd had to pull from their future security. And all of it, while treating my children like second-class citizens. I called Julie. She answered immediately, always on alert during work hours in case the school called about the kids. Nathan just told me something. I said, and explained everything. Julie was quiet for a long moment after I finished. Then she said, So, the favoritism was guilt. They were overcompensating for Brenda's failures. Seems like it. Does that make it better or worse? Worse, I said without hesitation, because it means they knew she was struggling. And instead of encouraging her to be honest and deal with it, they threw money at the problem and enabled the fantasy. And my kids paid the price for that enabling. What are you going to do? Exactly what we decided last night. We're done. No contact. And when they come asking for money, because Nathan's right that they will, the answer is no. Good, Julie said firmly. We have our own kids to think about, our own future to protect. We're not funding anyone else's illusions. That evening, I sat with Emma and Tyler after dinner. They were playing with blocks on the living room floor. building what Tyler insisted was a castle but looked more like a lumpy tower. Hey, guys, can we talk for a minute? They looked up at me with those trusting faces, and I felt the weight of what I was about to say. You know how we left Grandma and Grandpa's house yesterday? Emma nodded solemnly. Tyler just watched me. We're not going to go back there for a while. Maybe not for a long time. Because they were mean, Emma asked. Because they weren't treating you the way family should treat each other. And it's my job as your dad to make sure you're around people who make you feel loved and important. We are important, Tyler said with the absolute certainty of a 6-year-old who's been told he's special every day of his life. You are, I confirmed. You're the most important people in the world to me and Mom. Emma came over and hugged me. It's okay, Daddy. We have Grandma Carol and Grandpa Frank, and they actually like us. Out of the mouths of children. My daughter had summed up in one sentence what had been struggling to articulate. Some grandparents love you, some just tolerate you. And kids know the difference. 2 days later, on Wednesday morning, my phone rang at 6 in the morning. Patricia. I almost declined the call, but curiosity won. I stepped out onto the back porch so I wouldn't wake Julie. Hello, honey. Can we talk? My mother's voice was completely different from Sunday. Sweet. Almost pleading. I think there was a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding. As if what happened was some kind of miscommunication rather than deliberate cruelty. What kind of misunderstanding? I kept my voice neutral. I'd like to meet. Just you and me. Can we do coffee this morning? I should have said no. I should have hung up. But part of me, that little boy who still wanted his mother's approval, said yes. We met at a coffee shop near my office at 8. Patricia was already there when I arrived, sitting at a corner table. She looked older than I remembered. More tired. The carefully maintained facade showing cracks. She stood up when she saw me, moved in for a hug. I let her, but didn't return it with any warmth. What can I get you? She asked, gesturing to the counter. I'll get my own. I ordered a plain black coffee. When I returned to the table, I noticed Patricia had ordered some elaborate latte and a pastry. The coffee alone probably cost $7. The pastry another $5. Small things, but they nagged at me. She was supposedly in financial crisis, yet still ordering luxury items. Rocco. I'm sorry if your feelings were hurt on Sunday. If, my feelings, the classic non-apology. Mom, my feelings weren't hurt. My children were humiliated. There's a difference. She waved her hand dismissively. Children are resilient. They'll forget all about it. No, they won't. Emma asked me why you hate her. Something flickered across Patricia's face. Guilt, maybe. Or annoyance that I wasn't playing along with her script. I don't hate Emma. I love my grandchildren. Do you? Because your actions suggest otherwise. She took a sip of her expensive latte, gathering herself. Then she pivoted. Your sister is struggling right now. She needs family support. There it was. The real reason for this coffee meeting. What kind of struggle are we talking about? Financial difficulties. Craig made some unfortunate investments. They're working through it, but in the meantime, things are tight. How tight? That's really between them and us. But I was hoping, since you're doing well, you might have thought about helping out. I set my coffee down carefully. You want me to give Brenda money? I'm asking if you've considered it. Family helps family. How much have you already given her? Patricia's expression hardened. That's none of your concern. It is if you're asking me to contribute. How much? We've helped where we could. $60,000, I said flatly. Her face went pale. How do you know that? Does it matter? The point is, you've given Brenda $60,000 while treating my kids like they're worthless. And now you want me to add to that pile. This isn't about the children. Everything is about the children, Mom. That's what you don't understand. When you treat Emma and Tyler like they're less important than Madison, Chloe, and Brandon, you're making a statement about whose children matter in this family. Patricia stood up abruptly. I came here to have a rational conversation. Then let's be rational. How much does Brenda need? She hesitated, then sat back down. Just to get through a rough patch. Maybe $30,000 or $40,000. I almost choked. $30,000 or $40,000? On top of the $60,000 you've already given her. It's temporary. Craig's working on getting back on his feet. What's he doing to get back on his feet? Hess networking. Meeting with potential investors for a new business venture. In other words, Nothing concrete, nothing real, just vague promises and hopes. No, I said simply. Rocco, don't be selfish. I'm not being selfish. I'm being responsible. I have my own children to think about. My own family's future. I'm not funding Brenda's lifestyle. Patricia grabbed my arm as I started to stand. Think of the children. She meant Madison, Chloe, and Brandon. She always meant them. What about Emma and Tyler? I asked quietly. She looked genuinely confused, as if she didn't understand the question. They're fine. You provide for them. And who provides for Brenda's kids? We do. That's what parents do. With money, you don't have. With my inheritance. The words came out before I'd fully thought them through. But as soon as I said them, I knew they were true. My parents had been spending my inheritance on Brenda. Patricia's expression confirmed it. That money was meant to help family, she said defensively. It was meant to be split between me and Brenda. Instead, you gave it all to her. She needed it more. How much is left? Silence. Mom, how much of my inheritance is left? It's complicated. How much? She looked down at her expensive latte. It's gone. The coffee shop suddenly felt too loud, too bright. The conversations around us, the hiss of the espresso machine, the clinking of cups, all of it overwhelming. All of it. We had to help your sister. You don't understand how bad things got. You're right. I don't understand. Because nobody told me. Nobody asked me. You just decided that Brenda's financial disasters were more important than anything I might need in the future. You don't need it. You have a good job. You're stable. So, because I made responsible choices, I get punished? Because I didn't marry for money. Because I didn't spend beyond my means. Because I actually worked and saved. I don't deserve what was supposed to be mine. Rocco, please. Your father and I are in trouble too. We spent so much helping Brenda, and now we're struggling. The house has a reverse mortgage. The retirement accounts are depleted. We have maybe 20,000 left in liquid assets. And there it was. The real ask. The desperate plea. They hadn't invited me to Sunday dinner to see their grandchildren. They had been setting up this moment. The cruel treatment of Emma and Tyler was meant to make me feel guilty enough to offer money. Classic manipulation. Create a crisis, then offer reconciliation in exchange for cash. I stood up. I'm not giving you money. I'm not giving Brenda money. What you did to my kids on Sunday was unforgivable. This conversation just made it worse. Rocco, wait. But I didn't wait. I walked out of that coffee shop and didn't look back. In my car, I sat gripping the steering wheel, trying to calm down enough to drive safely. My phone buzzed with texts from Patricia. Please reconsider. Think about family. Your father will be so disappointed. I blocked her number. Then I called my financial advisor and asked about setting up a trust fund for Emma and Tyler. Something protected and secure that no one could touch. Whatever inheritance I might have had was gone. But I'd make sure my kids had something better. Julie was right. We had to protect our own family first. That evening, I came home to find an unfamiliar car in my driveway. A sleek silver sedan. Expensive. I recognized it immediately as Brenda's. My jaw clenched. What was she doing here? I walked in through the front door to find a scene that made my blood boil. Brenda and Craig sat in my living room with Julie, who looked like she was barely containing her fury. Upstairs, I could hear Emma and Tyler, but they weren't making their usual after-school noise. They were too quiet. What's going on? I asked, keeping my voice level. Rocco. Brenda stood up, tears already streaming down her face. I'm so sorry about Sunday. Mom and Dad were horrible. I had no idea they were treating your kids that way. This was a lie. A blatant, obvious lie. Brenda had been right there. Shed participated. Shed said those cruel words to Emma herself. Craig played his part. We're really sorry, man. That wasn't cool. Family should treat family better. I looked at Julie. She mouthed 20 minutes and gestured upstairs. They'd been here for 20 minutes already. Where are Emma and Tyler? I asked. Upstairs with a babysitter, Brenda said quickly. We hired someone, so we could talk to you and Julie privately. You hired a babysitter? For my house? Without asking. We used the emergency key, Craig said, as if this made it better. We really needed to talk to you. I went upstairs, taking the steps 2 at a time. In Emma's room, a teenage girl I'd never seen before sat on the floor playing with my kids. Emma looked relieved to see me. Daddy! Tyler ran over and hugged my legs. Hey, buddy. You guys okay? Aunt Brenda said we had to stay up here, Emma said quietly. I pulled out my wallet and paid the babysitter $50. Probably more than Brenda had promised her. Thank you for watching them. You can go now. After she left, I knelt down to Emma and Tyler's level. Stay up here for a little while, okay? Watch a movie or play. I'll come get you soon. Back downstairs, I found Brenda had made herself comfortable on my couch, tissue in hand, ready to perform. We need to talk about something important, she began. Then talk. Craig and I are going through a difficult time financially. I know. Mom told me. Brenda's tears stopped abruptly. She told you. About the investments. About the money you've borrowed. About everything. Craig and Brenda exchanged glances. Their script was falling apart. Then you understand why we're here, Craig said, trying to regain control of the conversation. We need help getting back on our feet. Just a temporary loan. How much? $40,000. I almost laughed. Almost. You want me to lend you $40,000. Well, pay you back as soon as my business takes off, Craig said. I'm starting a consulting firm. Executive coaching. I've got connections. People want to work with me. What kind of consulting? Business strategy. Leadership development. That sort of thing. Vague. No concrete plans. No clients. Just hopes and networking. When have you ever worked in consulting? I asked. I have experience. Family business background. People respect the name that came with money that was now gone. Julie, who had been silent, finally spoke. We can't afford to lend $40,000. You have it, Brenda said sharply. We know you do. How would you know anything about our finances? Mom said. Rocco makes good money. Mom doesn't know what I make or what I have saved. But you have savings, right? Investments? You always were the responsible one. Always so careful with money. There was resentment in her voice. Years of it, bubbling to the surface. I pulled out my phone and set it on the coffee table. I'm recording this conversation. Brenda went pale. You can't do that. Actually, this is my house. I can. That's illegal. In some states, yes. Not in this one. One-party consent for recording. I'm the one party. Craig stood up, his friendly demeanor dropping. You're recording us asking for help? What kind of person does that? The kind who's been lied to and manipulated enough times to want documentation. I tapped my phone, playing back the last 30 seconds. Brenda's voice came through clearly. You have it. We know you do. I've been recording since before I came downstairs, I said. I started it in the car when I saw your vehicle. I have everything. The babysitter you hired without permission. Your assumption about my finances. All of it. Julie looked at me with surprised approval. Nathan told me everything. I continued. About Craig losing the money. About the $60,000 Mom and Dad gave you. About the house in foreclosure. About the unpaid school tuition. All of it. Brenda's mask shattered completely. She stood up, furious. You always had it easy. Mom and Dad never had to help you. Had it easy. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I worked 2 jobs in college. I had scholarships because I earned them. I bought my first car with money I saved. Everything I have. I built myself. You gotta go to college. So did you. You went to private college that cost 3 times what my state school cost. But they expected more from me. I had to maintain appearances. I had to marry well. No one forced you to marry Craig for his money. I loved him, she screamed, then caught herself. Craig looked uncomfortable, probably realizing how that sounded. You married him for his family's money, I said quietly. And now it's gone, and you can't handle living a normal life. Normal? You call this normal? She gestured around my living room. This tiny house in your mediocre neighborhood with your mediocre life. Julie stood up. Get out of my house. We're not done talking, Brenda said. Yes, you are. Julie walked to the door and opened it. You came into our home without permission. You hired a stranger to watch our children without our consent. You insulted our family and our life. Now leave. Rocco, be reasonable. Craig tried. I am being reasonable. The answer is no. No money. No loan. Nothing. You treated my children terribly. And now you expect me to rescue you. Brenda pulled out her phone. I'm calling Mom and Dad. I blocked their numbers. They'll never forgive you for this. I'm counting on it. Craig moved toward me, and for a moment I thought he might try something physical. Instead, He leaned in close. We could make things difficult for you. Turn the whole family against you. I laughed. Actually laughed. More difficult than treating my kids like garbage? More difficult than telling Emma she was born to live off scraps? Go ahead. Turn them against me. Most of them already are. Julie's phone buzzed. She looked at it and showed me the screen. A text from her mother asking if everything was okay. Julie's parents lived 15 minutes away and had obviously been alerted something was happening. My in-laws are on their way, Julie said. You should leave before they get here. Brenda grabbed her purse. You'll regret this. Mom and Dad will never forgive you. Good. As they headed for the door, Brenda turned back one last time. You know what your problem is, Rocco? You never learned your place. You married down. You settled for less. And now you think you're too good to help your own sister. My problem, I said calmly. My problem is that I wasted 32 years thinking family meant something to people who only value me for what I can provide. Get out of my house. After they left, Julie locked the door and turned to me. We stood there for a moment, the adrenaline slowly fading. Did you really record everything? She asked. Every word. Good. We might need it. I went upstairs to check on Emma and Tyler. They were sitting on Emma's bed together, clearly having heard the raised voices. Are they gone? Emma asked. They're gone. Are they coming back? Not if I have anything to say about it. Tyler crawled into my lap. Daddy, are we poor? What? No, buddy. Why would you think that? Aunt Brenda said, we live in a tiny house. I hugged him tight. We live in a perfect house. It's exactly the right size for our family. And you know what? It's filled with people who love each other. That makes it better than any mansion. Emma nodded. I like our house. Me too, sweetheart. Me too. Later that night, after the kids were asleep, Julie's parents came by. Carol and Frank had raised 4 kids on Frank's delivery, driver salary, and Carol's grocery store wages. They owned their home outright, had saved for retirement, and helped each of their children with down payments when they bought houses. They were the example of what family should be. Frank listened to the whole story, then said simply, Some people are takers. They'll drain you dry and blame you for being empty. You did the right thing. Carol hugged me. Those babies upstairs deserve better than being made to feel less than. You protected them. That's what parents do. After they left, I sat on the back porch in the darkness. My phone buzzed constantly with blocked calls. Voicemails filled up. Texts from numbers I didn't recognize. They were ramping up. The pressure campaign was beginning, but for the first time in my life, I felt clear about my decision. My family, the one Eid built with Julie, the one that included Emma and Tyler, came first. Everyone else could wait. The next morning, I called a family lawyer that a coworker had recommended. Sandra Herman had been practicing for 25 years and had a reputation for being thorough and direct. Tell me everything, she said during our consultation. I did. The whole story. The years of favoritism, the Sunday dinner incident, the financial manipulation, the home invasion yesterday. I played her the recording from Brenda and Craig's visit. When I finished, Sandra sat back in her chair. You need cease and desist letters sent immediately. Your sister and her husband trespassed, hired someone to watch your children without consent, and attempted to coerce money from you. That's enough for a solid legal response. What about my parents? Have they made threats? Not yet, but I feel like it's coming. Document everything. Save every text, every voicemail, every email. If they escalate, well, be ready. I authorized her to send the letters. It felt good to take action, to put legal boundaries where emotional ones had failed. That afternoon, Julie and I sat down together and made a plan. We changed all the locks on our house. We blocked every number associated with my parents or Brenda. We removed them from Emma's and Tyler's emergency contact lists at school, adding Julie's parents and my cousin Nathan instead. We also made a difficult decision. We would explain everything to Emma and Tyler in age-appropriate terms. No more pretending, no more excuses. They deserved to understand why their grandparents and aunt wouldn't be in their lives anymore. That evening, we sat both kids down in the living room. You know how sometimes families don't get along? Julie started gently. Emma nodded. Tyler looked uncertain. Grandma Patricia and Grandpa Douglas and Aunt Brenda haven't been treating our family nicely for a long time, I said. And it's not because of anything you did. You two are perfect exactly as you are. I know, Emma said simply. They like Madison and Chloe and Brandon better. The matter-of-fact way she said it broke my heart. Here's the thing, Julie continued. When people treat you badly, even if they're family, you don't have to keep letting them. You can choose to spend time with people who make you feel good instead. Like Grandma Carol and Grandpa Frank, Tyler asked. Exactly like them. So we're not seeing Patricia and Douglas anymore, Emma asked. Not even calling them Grandma and Grandpa. Not for a while. Maybe not for a long time. That's okay, she said. They made me sad anyway. We ordered pizza that night and watched a movie together. Just the four of us. Our little family unit, complete and whole, without anyone else's approval. The next day, I took the day off work and picked the kids up from school early. We went to their favorite restaurant, then to the arcade, then got ice cream. Just a day of treating them like the special people they were. At the ice cream shop, Emma asked, "Why are we doing all this?" "Because you're important. Because you deserve good things. Not leftovers. Not crumbs. The best." Tyler grinned, chocolate ice cream smeared on his face. "We're not crumb kids." "No, buddy," I said, fighting tears. "You're not crumb kids. You're my everything." When we got home, there was a certified letter in the mailbox. My father's return address. I opened it with Julie looking over my shoulder. It was from a lawyer. Douglas was threatening to sue for grandparent visitation rights. The letter claimed I was alienating the grandchildren and denying them a relationship with their family. It was filled with legal jargon and thinly veiled threats. Julie read it twice, then said one word. Unbelievable. I called Sandra immediately. She asked me to scan and email the letter. "Don't worry," she said after reading it. "This is desperate, and it won't work. Document everything that's happened. Get that therapist evaluation for Emma we discussed. Well, build a case showing that contact with these people is harmful to your children's well-being." The therapist evaluation. After Sunday's disaster, Julie had taken Emma to see a child psychologist, Dr. Rachel Montgomery, who specialized in family dynamics. Emma had opened up about years of feeling less than, of overhearing comments, of being made to feel like she wasn't good enough. Dr. Montgomery's notes were damning. Shed documented Emma's statements, her emotional responses, her clear distress when discussing her paternal grandparents. Shed recommended limited or no contact until the family dynamics changed significantly. Over the next week, I gathered evidence. Screenshots of text messages going back years. Patricia canceling plans with us while keeping plans with Brenda. Douglas forgetting Emma's 8th birthday entirely but attending Chloe's elaborate party the week before. Comments in family group chats about those children when referring to Emma and Tyler. I found a text from Brenda to me from last Christmas that said, "Maybe don't bring the kids this year. The cousins are getting new bikes and tablets, and I don't want Emma and Tyler to feel bad about their lesser gifts." Lesser gifts. Shed actually used those words. I also contacted Aunt Linda. She was more than willing to provide testimony. She sent me emails from Patricia, messages where my mother openly disparaged Julie's working-class background, called my kids the public school bunch, and complained about how my mediocre life choices embarrassed the family. "I should have spoken up years ago," Aunt Linda said over the phone. "I'm sorry I didn't." "You're speaking up now. That's what matters." Sandra compiled everything into a comprehensive response. We documented the favoritism, the emotional abuse, the financial manipulation, the trespassing, everything. We included Dr. Montgomery's evaluation and her recommendation. The letter we sent back offered a simple settlement. Douglas withdraws his legal threat. All parties agree to no contact permanently. Everyone moves on with their lives. Douglas' lawyer called Sandra within 2 hours. "My client wants to reconsider," the lawyer said, according to Sandra. He wasn't aware of the full scope of the documentation. Translation. Douglas didn't think it'd actually have proof. He thought it would be his word against mine, and that his status as a grandfather would win automatically. "Recommend he withdraw," Sandra told his lawyer. 2 days later, we got formal notice. Douglas was withdrawing the grandparent rights claim. I should have felt relief. Victory, even. Instead, I felt nothing. Just a hollow recognition that it had come to this. Legal threats and counter-threats. Evidence gathering, like we were enemies instead of family. Then, my phone rang. An unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Rocco, it's Craig, Brenda's husband." The last person I expected to hear from. What do you want? I need to tell you something. Man to man. No lawyers. No drama. Just truth. I'm listening. Brenda has a gambling problem. I nearly dropped the phone. What? The money wasn't lost in bad investments. I mean, some of it was, but most of it, Brenda gambled away. Online poker. Sports betting. Some casino trips she took alone. She's been doing it for 2 years. Does she know you're telling me this? She's in the other room right now, completely unaware. And honestly, I don't care anymore. I'm filing for divorce. I'm taking the kids. I'm getting out before this destroys what's left of my life. Craig, I don't know what to say. Your parents know. They've known for 8 months. That's why they've been throwing money at her. They're trying to cover her losses, pay off her debts, keep her afloat. They're enabling her because they can't face the truth that their perfect daughter has a serious problem. Everything clicked into place: the desperate need for money, the shame, the secrecy, the overcompensation with favoritism toward Brenda's kids. Sunday dinner, I said slowly, making my kids sit in the corner. That was Brenda's idea, wasn't it? She wanted to feel superior, to feel like she still had something you didn't. It was cruel, and it was wrong, and I didn't stop it. I'm sorry for that. Where are her kids now? With me at my parents' house. I moved them out 3 days ago. I'm filing custody papers tomorrow. Brenda can get help or not, that's her choice. But I'm not letting my children be part of this anymore. I hope you and your kids find peace. I hope the same for you and yours. I'm sorry, Rocco. For all of it. Your family didn't deserve what we did. After he hung up, I sat there processing. Gambling addiction. Not business failures. Not bad luck. A disease that Brenda hid and my parents enabled. I felt a moment of sympathy for my sister. Addiction is real. It's serious. And it's not a moral failing. But then I remembered Emma's face at that dinner table. Tyler's confusion. The years of being made to feel less than. Addiction might explain the behavior, but it didn't excuse it. And it didn't obligate me to fix it. I told Julie everything Craig had said. Do you want to reach out to her? Julie asked. Offer to help if she gets treatment. No, I said after thinking about it. She's an adult. She has parents who are willing to sacrifice everything for her. If she wants help, there are resources. But I'm not going to be one of them. Not after what she did to our kids. Julie nodded. That's fair. That night, lying in bed, I finally felt the relief I'd been waiting for. My family was safe. My kids were protected. The truth was out in the open. Whatever happened to Brenda, to my parents, to any of them, was no longer my responsibility to fix. I'd chosen my family. The right family. The one that mattered. The following week brought a cascade of consequences I hadn't anticipated. Word spreads fast in families, especially when there's scandal involved. Aunt Linda, true to her word, had shared the truth with other relatives. Not gossip, but documented facts. She'd shown Uncle Jerry, my father's older brother, the text from Patricia asking for money. She'd explained about the gambling, the enabling, the treatment of my children. Uncle Jerry, a stern man in his late 60s, who'd built a successful construction company from nothing, was furious. He called Douglas directly. I know this because Jerry called me afterward to tell me what Head said. I told your father he's a fool, Jerry said bluntly. Told him he destroyed his relationship with his only son, bankrupted himself, and enabled your sister straight into addiction. Told him, I'm removing him from the family trust. There's a family trust. My trust. I was going to leave your father and Brenda each $25,000 when I die. Now I'm leaving it to you and your kids instead. Figure you'll actually do something useful with it. Uncle Jerry, you don't have to do that. I don't have to do anything. I want to. Your kids deserve family who value them. Within days, other cousins reached out. Nathan in Seattle, Kelly in Texas, Marcus in Florida, all of them expressing support, sharing their own stories of Patricia's judgment and Douglas' cold disapproval over the years. I'd thought I was alone in this. Turns out, I'd just been the first one to finally say enough. The family network that Patricia and Douglas had relied on for their self-image began to fracture. People chose sides, and increasingly, they weren't choosing Douglas and Patricia's side. Then came the news about Brenda. Craig filed for divorce and full custody of Madison, Chloe, and Brandon. His filing included documentation of Brenda's gambling, The money Shed lost? Her refusal to seek treatment? He requested supervised visitation only. The court agreed to temporary custody with Craig while things were sorted out. Brenda, now alone and facing the consequences of her actions, moved back in with Patricia and Douglas, 3 adults in that big house they'd been so proud of, all of them spiraling. Patricia tried to call me from different numbers, leaving voicemails that swung wildly between anger and pleading. I listened to none of them. Sandra heard them, documented them, told me they contained nothing requiring a response. Douglas sent emails. Formal, cold messages about family obligations and blood ties. I forwarded them to Sandra and deleted them. Then, 2 weeks after Craig's revelation, Patricia sent a handwritten letter to my office. It got past reception because it looked like business correspondence. I opened it at my desk, and for the first time in weeks, I actually read something from my mother. "Dear Rocco," it began. "I know you don't want to hear from me. I understand why. But I need you to know that I see clearly now what I've done." She went on for 3 pages. Detailed accounts of her regrets. Explanations of how Shed gotten caught up in maintaining appearances, in protecting Brenda, in losing sight of what mattered. She admitted to being in therapy, to recognizing how her own childhood had shaped her obsession with status and perfection. "I can't undo the past," she wrote. "I can't give Emma and Tyler the grandmother they deserved. But I want you to know, I understand now. I see how I failed you, how I failed them, how I failed myself." She didn't ask for anything. No requests to see the kids. No pleas for reconciliation. Just an acknowledgement of reality. At the end, she wrote, "I hope someday you can forgive me. But I understand if you can't. I hope Emma and Tyler grow up knowing they were never the problem. They were always perfect. I was the one who couldn't see it." I showed the letter to Julie that evening. "What do you think?" I asked. "I think she means it," Julie said carefully. "I think she's actually recognizing what she did. But meaning it and being ready to be in our lives again are different things." "I know. Do you want to write back?" I thought about it for a long time. Finally, I did. 1 page. "Mom, I forgive you. Forgiveness is important for my own peace. But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. My children's well-being has to come first. Maybe someday, things will be different. But that day isn't now. I hope you continue therapy. I hope you heal. But I need space. And Emma and Tyler need protection. I'm sorry, but this is how it has to be." I mailed it the next day. Patricia didn't respond, but 3 days later, I got news through Aunt Linda. Patricia had filed for legal separation from Douglas. She told him she was done enabling. Linda reported, said Shed spent 40 years letting him dictate how the family worked, and look where it got them. She's moving to Montana to live with her sister, getting her own fresh start. I didn't know how to feel about that. Part of me respected Patricia for finally standing up to Douglas. Part of me thought it was too little, too late. Douglas, according to Linda, was living alone in a house about to foreclose. His retirement money gone. His wife gone. His daughter in the middle of a custody battle. His son refusing contact. Uncle Jerry, true to his word, gave Douglas a job doing basic bookkeeping for the construction company. It paid $30,000 a year, enough to rent a small apartment and buy groceries. A humbling fall for a man who'd spent his career managing millions. He comes in, does his work, doesn't talk much. Jerry told me over the phone. I think reality is finally hitting him. As for Brenda, she checked herself into rehab. Court ordered as part of the custody agreement. 90 days in a facility in Arizona that specialized in gambling addiction. Craig sent me an email letting me know. "I thought you'd want to know she's getting help. The kids are doing better. They're in therapy too. We're all healing." I wrote back wishing him and the kids well. Emma's letter arrived at Patricia's sister's house in Montana. Patricia called from a new number I hadn't blocked yet. "Rocco, I got Emma's letter." Id had no idea Emma sent a letter. My daughter had done it without telling me. "What did it say?" Patricia's voice broke. "She said she forgives me, because you told her forgiveness makes hearts lighter. But she doesn't want to see me anymore, because I made her feel worth less than her cousins. She said she's not. She said she's special." I felt tears in my own eyes. "My brave, wise daughter. She is special," I said quietly. "I know that now. I should have known it then. I'm so sorry, Rocco. I destroyed this. I destroyed everything. You did. Can I write back to her?" I hesitated. Then, One letter. Something appropriate. Something that doesn't ask for anything. If you send it, I'll give it to her. What she does with it is her choice. Thank you. We hung up. A week later, a card arrived for Emma. Simple. Age appropriate. It said, "Dear Emma, thank you for your letter. You were right. You are special. I'm sorry I didn't show you that when I had the chance. I hope you have a wonderful life surrounded by people who see how amazing you are. Love, Grandma Patricia." Inside was a $20 bill. Emma asked if she could keep it. I said yes. She put it in her piggy bank and put the card in her desk drawer. That night, she came to me before bed. "Daddy, do you think Grandma will be okay?" "I think she's trying to be." "That's good. I don't want her to be sad forever." My daughter had a capacity for empathy that humbled me. "You're an amazing person, Emma. I learned it from you and Mom." Over the next month, things settled into a new normal. Our lives continued without the constant drama. Sunday dinners at our house became a tradition, with Julie's parents, Aunt Linda, Uncle Jerry's family, Nathan. When he visited from Seattle, our table was full of people who actually wanted to be there, who loved Emma and Tyler genuinely. Emma thrived in school. Tyler made new friends. Julie got a promotion to head teacher in her department. I got a bonus at work. We took a vacation to the beach, just the four of us. We built sandcastles and collected shells and ate too much ice cream and laughed until our sides hurt. One evening on that trip, watching the sunset over the ocean with my kids running in the waves and Julie beside me, I realized something. It'd been waiting my whole life for my parents' approval, for them to see me as enough, to value what Eid built, and in letting go of that need, Eid found something better. Peace. Real, genuine peace. 6 months after that terrible Sunday dinner, I barely recognized my life. Not because everything had changed dramatically, but because the constant weight was gone. The anxiety of wondering when the next criticism would come, when the next comparison would be made, when my kids would be hurt again. All of it lifted. Our house felt different, lighter. Emma's laughter came more easily. Tyler's confidence grew. Julie smiled more. Sunday dinners became something we all looked forward to. Aunt Linda came every week, bringing her famous potato salad. Uncle Jerry and his wife Joan showed up with stories from the construction sites. Julie's parents, Carol and Frank, were there without fail, playing with the kids, helping in the kitchen, being the grandparents Emma and Tyler deserved. Nathan flew in from Seattle for Thanksgiving and stayed with us. Cousins Kelly and Marcus video called during dinner, their families joining ours virtually. The table was crowded, noisy, full of overlapping conversations and genuine warmth. Emma helped cook, carefully measuring ingredients under Julie's supervision. Tyler set the table, proud of getting all the forks and knives in the right places. This was family. Not perfect, but real. Not based on status or appearances, but on showing up and caring. In December, Emma had a school project about family. She was supposed to create a poster showing who was important in her life. I worried about how she'd handle it, whether she'd feel sad about the grandparents who weren't present. Instead, she created something beautiful. Photos of her and Tyler, with Julie and me, pictures with Carol and Frank, who'd been at every school, concert, and soccer game. A photo of Aunt Linda teaching Emma to bake cookies. Uncle Jerry showing Tyler how to use a hammer. Nathan playing video games with both kids during his visit. At the bottom, in Emma's careful 9-year-old handwriting, she wrote, "Family is people who love you and treat you with respect." Her teacher, Mrs. Campbell, called Julie to say how impressed she was with Emma's maturity and insight. "She has a really healthy understanding of relationships," Mrs. Campbell said. "You're raising a remarkable young woman." Julie told me about the call, and we both cried. Happy tears this time. On Emma's 9th birthday in January, a card arrived in the mail. From Patricia, postmarked Montana. Just a simple birthday card with a $20 bill inside and a short message. "Happy birthday, Emma. I hope you know how special you are. Love, Grandma." Emma showed it to me, uncertain how to react. "It's okay to keep it if you want," I said. "Or not. Your choice." She thought about it, then put the money in her savings jar and the card on her bookshelf. "I don't want to throw it away," she explained. "But I don't need to think about it every day either." 9 years old, and wiser than most adults I knew. One evening in late January, almost a year after everything fell apart, Tyler asked me a question while I was tucking him into bed. Dad, why didn't Grandma and Grandpa Douglas like us? Had been too young to really understand it all when it happened. But now at 7, he was processing it all over again. I sat on the edge of his bed, choosing my words carefully. Sometimes people make mistakes. Big mistakes. And sometimes those mistakes hurt other people. Especially kids. Did we do something wrong? No. You and Emma did nothing wrong. You were perfect just as you are. Then why? Sometimes grown-ups get confused about what's important. They think things like money or status or what other people think matters more than love. And that confusion makes them hurt people. Are they still confused? I think some of them are learning not to be. But even if they learn, that doesn't mean we have to be around them again. Because they hurt our feelings. Because my job as your dad is to keep you safe. Not just your body, but your heart too. And being around people who make you feel bad isn't safe for your heart. He nodded, processing this. Then, I'm glad we have Grandma Carol and Grandpa Frank. Me too, buddy. And Aunt Linda makes really good cookies. I laughed. She does. So we're okay without them. We're more than okay. We're exactly where we need to be. He hugged me tight, then rolled over to sleep. Downstairs, Julie was on the back porch, wrapped in a blanket against the cold January air. I joined her, bringing 2 mugs of hot chocolate. Tyler asked about them. I said, "What did you say?" I told her about our conversation. "You handled it well," she said. "He needs to understand it wasn't about him. Emma's handling it better than I thought she would. Emma's stronger than we give her credit for. They both are." We sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching our breath cloud in the cold air. "Do you ever wonder how they're doing?" Julie asked. "Your parents, I mean." "Sometimes. Aunt Linda keeps me updated whether I ask or not. Mom's apparently doing well in Montana, working as a receptionist at a medical clinic. Living simply, still in therapy. Dad's still at Uncle Jerry's company, living in a studio apartment. Brenda finished rehab and is in a halfway house, working on staying sober. Do you want to see any of them?" I thought about it, really thought about it. No. Maybe someday. But not now. Maybe not ever. And I'm okay with that. No guilt. Some. But less than I expected. I used to think walking away from family was the worst thing you could do. Now I know that sometimes it's the bravest thing. Julie leaned against my shoulder. You protected our kids. We protected them. They're going to grow up knowing they're valued. That's everything. She was right. Emma and Tyler would never wonder if they were good enough. They'd know they were. They'd know because we told them every day. Not with words alone, but with actions. With showing up. With choosing them over toxic relationships. In March, I ran into Douglas at a grocery store. Pure chance. I was picking up milk and bread after work, and there he was, in the cereal aisle, looking older than I remembered. Tired. Smaller somehow. We made eye contact. Neither of us looked away. "Rocco. Dad." An awkward silence stretched between us. "How are the kids?" he asked finally. "They're wonderful." He nodded, tears suddenly visible in his eyes. "Good. That's good." He looked like he wanted to say more, but instead, he just pushed his cart away. I watched him go, and I felt something unexpected. Not anger, not pain, just a quiet acknowledgement that this was how things were now. He was a stranger who shared my DNA. Nothing more. I didn't chase after him. I didn't try to bridge the gap. I just finished my shopping and went home. That night, after the kids were in bed, I sat at the kitchen table and wrote, not a letter to anyone, just thoughts for myself. Reflections on everything that had happened. I wrote about learning that you can't control how others treat you, but you can control how you respond. About protecting your children's emotional well-being being more important than maintaining toxic relationships, even with family. About walking away from cruelty not being weakness, but strength. I wrote about understanding that your worth isn't determined by how others value you, but by how you value yourself. And I wrote about the most important lesson of all, that the best revenge isn't hurting those who hurt you. It's building a life so full of love and joy that their absence doesn't matter. 1 year after that terrible Sunday dinner, we hosted Emma's 10th birthday party at our house. 30 people showed up, friends from school, neighbors, family who actually loved her. The house overflowed with laughter and love. Emma blew out her candles, closed her eyes to make a wish. Later, when I was tucking her in, She told me what Shed wished for. I wished that all kids could feel as loved as I do now. I hugged her tight, overwhelmed with gratitude for this amazing human Wed raised. You know what, Emma? You're going to help make that happen. You're going to be someone who makes other people feel valued. Because you know what it's like to feel both ways. I hope so. I know so. Looking back now, I can see the journey clearly. From that moment of humiliation, when I walked into my parents' dining room and saw my children relegated to the corner, through the painful revelations and confrontations, to the peace Wed found on the other side. It wasn't the ending it imagined when this all started. It hoped for reconciliation. For my parents to suddenly see what they'd been doing and change. For a happy ending, where everyone learned and grew and came together. Instead, I got something different. Something better. Actually, I got clarity. I got boundaries. I got a family built on mutual respect and genuine love, rather than obligation and appearances. I learned that sometimes the family you're born into can't see your value. So you build a family that does, and you teach your children that they were never the problem. They were always enough. More than enough. They were everything. We don't eat crumbs anymore. We feast. We feast on love and respect and genuine connection. We feast on Sunday dinners where everyone wants to be there. We feast on laughter and shared stories and the simple joy of being together. Emma and Tyler will grow up knowing they're valued, not because of what they achieve or how they look or who they know, but simply because they exist, because they're themselves, and that's more than enough. That's the legacy I'm building, not one of status or wealth or appearances, but one of love, real, unconditional, showing up everyday love. And honestly, that's worth more than any inheritance, any family approval, any hollow apology. That's worth everything. Now, I want to ask you something. Have you ever had to choose between family loyalty and protecting yourself or your children? How did you handle it? What would you have done in my situation? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button. It helps other people find these stories and know they're not alone in facing difficult family situations. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future stories about real-life challenges and how people overcome them. Share this with someone who might need to hear it. Someone who's struggling with family expectations or toxic relationships. Sometimes, knowing that others have faced similar situations and come out stronger makes all the difference. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it brought you some comfort, some clarity, or at least some company in whatever you're facing. Remember, your worth isn't determined by how others value you. You get to decide who has access to your life and your children's lives. And choosing peace over toxicity isn't selfish. It's survival. Take care of yourselves, protect your hearts, and surround yourselves with people who actually see your value. You deserve nothing less.